Do you ever find yourself stuck in analysis paralysis, going over the same options again and again, only to feel more confused and frustrated and less certain with any choice? This happened to me recently buying a car. I thought I knew exactly what I wanted, but the more research I did, the less and less certain I became. Overthinking, no matter on what, can be exhausting. And worse, it slows you down, creates unnecessary stress, and keeps you from moving forward in life and work. But there is a way to break free from it. In this video, I'll share some examples of how to stop overthinking and start making faster, better decisions. These strategies aren't just theories. They're what I've personally used and backed by psychology, real-world examples, and other thought leaders. Alex Hormozi, a YouTuber who's been taking the world by storm, believes that decision-making speed is one of the biggest competitive advantages you can have. So watch to the end, because by the end of this video, you'll have a clear roadmap on how to make better, faster decisions. What is one of the biggest reasons why we overthink? Well, it's that we don't clearly know what decision we're making. In order to better define the decision, you have to better define the problem. So step back and ask yourself, what is the actual problem I'm solving? Is this a symptom or the root? And two, what outcome am I aiming for? For example, let's say you're considering making a big career move and you're trying to decide, should I quit my job and start my own business? Well, this question is very broad and overwhelming. So instead, we need to break it down to be more specific. And you can reframe it like this. What is the minimum viable version of my business that I could create while keeping my job? Or two, what financial milestones do I have to hit before I make the full-time leap? Clarity helps cut through all the noise and gives your brain something concrete to work with. Big decisions are overwhelming, but they become manageable when you break them down into smaller, specific questions. The second step is to set a timeline for your decision. One of the biggest causes of overthinking is endless deliberation with no timeline. And the great news is that the solution to this is very easy. Give yourself that timeline. For smaller decisions, like picking a restaurant for dinner, try to make these as quick as possible. Give yourself a 2-minute limit. For bigger decisions, like where to move or what career to go into, give yourself a larger timeline, but still make it concrete. Alex Hormozi says this best. If you can make your decisions twice as fast as your competitors, you will move twice as quickly. And in the long run, that speed compounds. Decision-making speed isn't just a competitive advantage, isn't just a productivity hack. It's a competitive advantage no matter where you apply it. Because oftentimes our progress stalls completely because we aren't able to make a decision of where to go next. Step 3 is to use the 80-20 rule. Not all factors in all decisions carry the same weight. The Pareto principle, also known as the 80-20 rule, explains that 80% of the results only come from 20% of the inputs. And this means you need to ask yourself, what are the key factors that will drive the progress I want? Figure these ones out and ignore the rest. For example, let's say you're thinking about creating a side project or a side hustle. Instead of evaluating every possible pro and con, focus on just the 2 most critical factors. Does this align with my long-term goals? And will it provide a significant return on investment? Whether that's income, skills, network, etc. This approach helps keep you from drowning in all the unnecessary details and helps you make decisions that are better aligned with your long-term picture. Moving on to step 4, and that is to embrace imperfection. Here's a truth that might sting. No decision is perfect, as the old-time military quote goes, which I believe was Winston Churchill. A good decision today is better than a perfect decision tomorrow. Speed matters. Waiting for the perfect answer often leads to missed opportunities. Instead, in most cases, we want to embrace a mindset of action, because even if the decision isn't perfect, we'll learn and improve from it. Jeff Bezos talks about this with his analogy of 2-way doors. You need to know which doors you can walk through, and if it goes into the wrong room, which ones you can walk out of. And which doors, once you go through, there's no way back. Further to this, Jeff Bezos has a 70% rule, where he says you want to make decisions with about 70% of the information you wish you had. Because if you wait for 90 or 100%, you will oftentimes be too late. Taking action now beats waiting for the perfect solution later, because by doing it now, you'll be able to learn and improve and oftentimes iterate faster than you would have if you waited for all the information. Step 5, and this is a big one, and that is to limit your options. Overthinking thrives on having too many choices. Have you ever spent an hour on Netflix just scrolling trying to find that perfect movie to watch, only to realize your time's up and you watch nothing? Well, this applies to the rest of life as well. And that's what happened to me when I was buying a car. I started off thinking, I want a Mazda 3. But by the time I started comparing every other model, there's just way too many options. And after months and months of deliberation, I ended up with the first choice of where I started, a new Mazda 3. So instead, you want to limit your options. And you do this by having criteria, as we talked about before, knowing what problem you're trying to solve. If you're trying to decide what professional skills to work on next, identify the top 3, and then just pick one that is your biggest weakness or has the biggest upside to what you're working on now. Learn this and move on. Step 6 is to use mental models. Mental models are powerful frameworks that help support your decision making. One powerful model is the regret minimization framework by Jeff Bezos. An example of this is to ask yourself, if you're trying to decide between doing something and not doing it, will you regret doing this in 10 years or will you regret not doing this in 10 years? That will oftentimes give you your answer. Another mental model is the opportunity cost. When you're in deliberation, consider what opportunity you're giving up by not making a decision. Or if you're trying to decide between a few different options, ask what opportunity one will give you versus what the other ones will cost you. And finally, step 7 is to trust your gut on decisions. For everyday decisions, like whether to spend an evening catching up on work or relaxing and getting restored, just trust your gut. Oftentimes your body will tell you what the right answer is. Your intuition is a result of patterns that your brain has recognized over time. For almost all small decisions, this instinct will often outperform over-analysis. A quick way of doing this is asking yourself, what option will help me feel most balanced right now? And what decision will move me forward in the simplest manner? By doing this and eliminating all those small decisions, you can save your mental bandwidth for the big ones that really do matter. And as a bonus, something that I often think about when choosing between things is which ones will unlock the most amount of options after. Say that you're hiking and you're trying to decide between 3 different paths. A great option is which one will give you the most options of where to go in the future. This works the same with careers. If you're trying to decide which business to go into, which one will give you the most options to adapt in the future. All right, and now to recap. You can stop overthinking by defining the decisions you're trying to make, setting deadlines, focusing on the key factors, and embracing imperfection. Limit your choices, use mental models, and trust your gut for the little things. And something that I often like to remember is a quote by Hormozi, which says, "The reason you're stressed right now is because you have decisions that you need to make and you're not making them." Remember, the faster you act, the faster you move, and the faster you grow. Now it's your turn. What decision have you been overthinking? I challenge you to put an end to that and make that decision today or this week. Thanks so much for watching, and if you enjoyed this content, please consider subscribing to more videos all about professional and personal development. Thanks, and we'll see you in the next one up here.